would be nice if any encounter with mental illness in our lives could be avoided. If experienced at all, we would like it to be as brief, isolated, and singular as possible. But the reality is that for many of us, mental illness in various forms, frequency, and severity will threaten to return for visits throughout our lives. It's a condition that may be permanently susceptible, so the challenge isn't to survive a one-off crisis. It's to set in place a framework that can help us manage our fragility over the long term. The first step with any self-awareness is to acknowledge that we always have something to work on. Being ready for the possibility of mental instability will help us to calibrate our expectations and render us appropriately patient and unfrightened in the face of affliction and subsequent relapses. We also must recognize that mental instability is never a sudden thing. We can become ill over many years. We have spots in our childhood that may seem like a laboratory experiment gone horribly wrong, and that it will take an eternity for us to be impervious. But in reality, we should expect to recover no faster than someone who has damaged an organ or limb. In fact, it could take a great deal longer, given how complicated our mind is next to a femur or tendon. It's important to be rigorous with our patterns of thinking. We cannot afford to let our thoughts wander in any old section of the mind. There are thoughts that we need to nurture. Thoughts about self-worth, our right to exist, to forgive others for wrongdoings, and to also forgive ourselves for things we've done wrong. We should be ruthless about chasing out negative feedback, comparing ourselves to others, ruminating about perceived past failures, wondering why some people have it so much better than us, how inadequate and pitiful we are, and what a disappointment we have turned out to be. These kinds of thoughts serve no purpose in teaching us anything new or constructive. They are really just instruments of self-torture and symptoms of isolated incidents that only exist in the past. A decent social life isn't a luxury or piece of entertainment. It's an absolute necessity to help us stay alive. Since we are essentially social beings by nature, we need each other to balance our minds when we are slipping. We need friends who will be soothing with our fears and not accuse us of self-indulgence or self-pity for the amount of time it takes to get through a difficult life transition, setback, or traumatic episode. The best form of help seems to come from others who have had similar struggles of their own. And if we can meet as humans with equal ailments, as opposed to doctors and patients, we'll all be much better off for it. We must be ruthless in our quest to distance ourselves from other people who are not able to support us, people who harbor secret resentments against us, or those who are blatantly hostile to self-examination. Those who are scared of their own minds and project their own fears onto us are not worth the time and effort. Spending time with negative influences can throw a shadow over the whole day. Their unsympathetic voices become lodged in our minds and feed our own sense of self-doubt. We shouldn't hesitate to socially edit those people from our lives for the sake of healthy mental status. We have a natural tendency to hide ourselves away and reduce communication when things get dark, and we are too ashamed to do anything else. We need to fight this tendency, and when we can't bear to admit what we are going through, we should dare to take someone into our confidence. Silence is the primordial enemy. We must fight a permanent feeling that we are too despicable to exist, and therefore take a gamble with opening up our feelings. Love is ultimately what will get us through. Not romantic love, but sympathy, tolerance, and patience as part of unconditional love. We'll need to watch our tendencies to turn down love from an innate sense of unworthiness. Positive attention from others is not all the same, though. Some of it is superficial, and some of it comes from deep within. We can thank those who are offering it and make them feel appreciated in return, regardless. But most of all, we must accept that mental illness can come from a deep-rooted sense of insecurity, or a deficit of love, and therefore every encounter with trustworthy people in our lives will strengthen our recovery and help to keep the darkness at bay. We would prefer not to keep adding foreign messages to our minds. The side effects can be eerie, and we may need to guard ourselves from damaging thoughts that tell us we don't deserve to exist. We need to see the simplicity and beauty that is present in modest behavior and everyday living. That we are good enough as we are, and we don't need huge sums of money or to be spoken well of by strangers. We should take pride in our early nights and undramatic routines. These aren't signs of passivity or giving up on life. What looks like a normal life on the outside is a singular achievement given what we are battling within. We can push back mental illness by laughing heartily in its face. We are cracked and flawed from every angle, but luckily, we can take solace in knowing that so many others deal with the same mental absurdities of life. We should be proud of ourselves for making it this far. At times it may have looked as if we never would. There may have been many nights when we sincerely thought of taking our own lives. Somehow we held on, reached out for help to endure another day. We dared to tell someone else our problems, engaged our minds, and tried to piece together our histories in earnest effort to plan a more endurable future. None of us are safe. As Friedrich Nietzsche stated, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. We are still here, mentally ill and struggling, no doubt, but more than ever committed to recovery and appreciative of good people to help us along the way. We must recognize the attempts from others to step in and help, be grateful for their gestures of kindness and love, but also hungry for insight and education, and always be willing to help anyone else whose plight we can recognize. We know that at any given moment, we may not be fully well, and we must accept that we might never be. But if we can look in the mirror and see the person looking back as mending and still trying, isn't that, for now, good enough? Take care of yourself and take care of each other.